Do you know how to use all the toothpaste in the tube? Stick around for 15 frugal living tips that Frugal Over 50 viewers learned from our grandparents. Lessons from the Great Depression still shine and still teach us today. Let's do this. Welcome, I'm Amy, and here at Frugal Over 50 I give you tips and tools for frugal living. A little while ago I recorded a video for you folks on 12 frugal living tips that we learned from the Great Depression, and this was a very popular video, and you folks had a lot to say about things that you learned from your parents and grandparents and things that you do to be more frugal that come from lessons learned in the Great Depression. And I could not stop myself from going and printing out a whole bunch of these so that I could share with everybody. If you haven't watched that video, go and watch that first and read the comments and then come back here to share even more. Number 1. Onion Potato says this: my grandmother had a huge garden, so although they were poor, they ate well. The only food items she bought from a store were coffee, sugar, and milled flour. Everything else she produced, including her baking yeast, which she kept in a flour ball behind the stove. Grandma lived to 93 and was a happy person. What a wonderful tribute to Grandma, who had yeast in a flour ball behind the stove. Anybody else relate to this one? Number 2 comes from Bonnie Larman, who said this: my grandmother always baked on Friday. Bread, donuts, cookies, cinnamon rolls, cake. They lived on a large farm, and coffee times were 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Anyone was welcome to stop in for coffee. I love this tradition. I would love it if my neighborhood was set up where we could have 2 times a day coffee hour where everybody could just come and drink coffee. Sounds like a lot of fun. Number 3, Gianna Gallegos said this: I do baking when I have time, and my 9-year-old granddaughter loves it. I don't sew a whole lot, but what I do know, I teach my grandmother, and I am happy with what I have. Gianna, thank you so much for sharing these legacies with your own granddaughter. It's a brilliant way to pay it forward, quite literally. And next, Lizzie McDougall said, many thanks for the great tips. My parents were born in the Depression, and they could make, fix, and grow everything. They are my role models. I like the idea of making gifts. I gifted homemade granola to my colleagues at work this year. It was well received and easy and fun to make. It was also a change from the sweets that are often selected for gifts. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you, Lizzie. And I have to say, my daughter recently started making her own granola, and there's nothing quite like homemade granola. The smell of it fills the house, and the taste is just spectacular. So well done, Lizzie. This next one includes some cleaning tips, and this is really interesting from S. Rose. For those like me who can't use vinegar to clean, just dish soap and water works great. Vinegar triggers my asthma, but dish soap diluted in a spray bottle doesn't. I use alcohol on mirrors or on the cloth I wipe electronics with. My grandparents lived through the Depression. They stretched their food budget with potatoes and bread and butter or crackers on the side. I eat oatmeal most every day and potatoes at least 3 times a week. I add a can of rinsed cooked lentils to a pound of ground beef and divide in half and use for 2 recipes. I also bulk up recipes with celery and carrots. This is a wonderful way to demonstrate how you are living your grandparents' legacy, Lizzie. Number 6 comes to us from Sure Whatever. The purpose of baking day was to make the most use of a heated oven. In warmer weather, it was important to limit heat sources in the house. With a little organization, you could pop in a new pie, cake, bread each time you bring one out. It also conserved water. You can use a dry ingredient bowl or the butter knife over and over before washing at the end of the baking day. Same thing with rolling pins and floured boards. This is brilliant. I never thought of this, and I will never bake the same way again. Thank you. Next, we have Not Specified, talking about sewing and gardening. In sewing, you can find wonderful fabric at the thrift shop. Look for voluminous skirts and sheets, clothing that's bigger than you need that you can snip down for the fabric. I have made summer dresses and pillowcases from $2 vintage bed sheets. Also, old leather trousers and jackets can give you a great resource for wallets, pouches, and book covers. Those without gardens or time to garden can grow their own microgreens. Another one, swap cuttings with neighbors or extra seedling plants. In my childhood, my grandparents sowed some types of seeds. His allotment buddies sowed other types. Then they swapped the excess. I love this idea of finding things that were meant for one purpose and using them for something else, and then swapping with friends. All right, let's talk some more about holidays. By the way, I am preparing a video for you on how to prepare for the holidays starting now, so stick around. It's coming in a couple of weeks. Kathy Phillips says, this past Christmas, I made pot-pourri for everyone. It was a big hit. Just used apple, orange, and lemon peels that normally would have been thrown out and added cinnamon sticks and whole cloves. Made pretty cards and used mason jars I already had. Almost no cost, just time. Made the whole house smell like Christmas. This sounds like so much fun, Kathy. I hope you get a chance to do this again, and if you ever make a video tutorial on how to do it, share the link with us here because I want to learn how. If you're getting value out of this video, out of these wonderful tips from viewers, would you give this video a like? Give each other a like, and consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified first of new videos. If you'd like to contribute to the growth of the channel, click the link below for Buy Me a Coffee, where you can make a one-time contribution to the channel, or you can become a monthly member. Let's get back to these tips from viewers. Susan Bartlett said, for the past several years, I have given baked goods for Christmas. My family and friends love it and will put in requests for favorites for the goodie boxes. Also, I live in an apartment and cannot grow anything in the ground. I do have a patio, though, and decided a couple of years ago to see how veggies would do in containers. Turns out they do great. I grow squash and zucchini in mini swimming pools, tomatoes, bell peppers, and lettuce in pots on small tables, and cucumbers in pots on the ground with a trellis behind for the vines to grow. Serves as a decorative privacy border as well as a food source, and it's easy to manage. Susan, this sounds absolutely wonderful. I used to live in an apartment, and I can just picture right now how that would look out on the balcony. So colorful and so tasty, and when it's time for lunch, all you have to do is go outside and get your food. This next one comes to us from Cluebug's RV Adventures, talking about what it's like to live on the road. I haven't purchased paper towels or aluminum foil for 5 years. I haven't missed either one. I make my own deodorant, use apple cider vinegar as a hair rinse and conditioner with a $4 to $5 shampoo bar. I'm a traveling nurse, been living in a motorhome for 3 years. I already crochet and sew. I recently bought a small sewing machine after a few years ago, getting rid of my one from my sticks and bricks. I don't have an oven, but I make breads in a bread machine. Thanks for your channel. And thanks for yours, Cluebug. And Cluebug, thank you for your service to our community. These tips just keep coming. Let's hear from Brandy T. For over 10 years, I have cleaned the tub and shower with 1/2 vinegar and 1/2 Blue Dawn dish soap. Put in spray bottle, spray on surface, wait 5 minutes, longer for lots of hard water stains or soap scum, and simply wipe off. I was tired of using harmful chemicals, and who doesn't have vinegar and dish soap at home? Works like a charm. Brandy, I gotta try this today. My shower needs cleaning. I love this next one from Lisa Cohen. When I am at the end of a bottle of shampoo or conditioner or dish soap, I fill it up with water and use it to clean the toilets. The suds work nicely, and after it's finished, the bottles are rinsed out to put into the recycling. This is a brilliant idea for using up those last little dregs in a way that keeps you from putting lots of chemicals down your toilet. Gina Brown shares this. To get rid of the vinegar smell, just soak orange rinds in the vinegar for a week, then compost them. Smells lovely and cleans better with the natural citrus oils. Gina, thank you for this. I already referred to this in an earlier video called 9 Favorite Everyday Frugal Tips. I'll link it above and make sure you go watch that. Thank you for sharing this, Gina. I have to try this myself. Michelle Tony tells us how to use up every last bit of toothpaste. After watching these tips for the second time, just wanted to add a tip on a tip. When you cut off the top of a tube to get what's left, be sure to save the top part that you cut off. That way, you can pinch the bottom part and fit the top back over it, thus keeping the remaining contents from drying out. This is a brilliant idea, and I've never tried this. I usually just stick it in a Ziploc bag, but it would be even more frugal to have this method where I don't have to worry about using any other resources. Yes. PM Johnston, you had a lot of tips. Let's get to it. I think your best tip is the one about using up every bit of something you paid good money for. Drives me bananas when I see folks throw out perfectly good stuff, especially food. So what if the amount of grated cheese left over isn't enough to do for the whole family? Put it in a reusable container and incorporate that little bit into an omelet or toss it into your lunchtime soup. Don't skip out on the fabric if you're going to spend your time and money sewing. When you do buy something, make sure it's the best quality you can manage. We spend our lives working to make enough money so we can buy junk that doesn't serve us well and ends up rotting in some landfill somewhere. Imagine what else you could be doing with that time if you could afford to spend less of it buying stuff to throw away. PM Johnston, brilliant. Thank you. And I have a bonus tip for you. This one comes to us from Fred Swartley. Great tips. Slowing down is important, but it's difficult for me to do. Slowing down helps us examine our goals and priorities. Reflecting on life is important and keeps us moving toward our dreams and goals rather than being swept along by the current of busyness. Fred, this is a beautiful, beautiful quote. If you'd like to know a little bit more about this process of slowing down and changing your life through frugal living, watch my video on 10 frugal living habits that changed my life. Author Joe R. Lansdale said, "My parents had become adults during the Great Depression, as had many of my aunts and uncles. So I got stories from all of them. They are fastened up inside me, and now and again, they have to come out." Thank you for sharing your frugal living tips here with the Frugal Living community. Wherever you are on your frugal living journey, take the next step, whatever that next step is for you, and know that you are not alone, and I and we all are so proud of you. Live frugally, change your life, and together we will change the world. I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye-bye.